Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the Review Crew, and I am your host, Brian, the conscience of Cleveland Donlan. It's a weekend, it's more like a week, to be thankful, folks. And we are here to wrap up everything that is coming for Thanksgiving week. And as I say, it's a full week of NFL action. It's great. Now, remember, everybody, like, subscribe, follow the crew. You can find us. We are on X, we are on Insta, we are on Twitch, we are on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts. We are wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you get in touch and you stay involved with everything NFL through the crew. Now, I've got a bona fide celebrity on with me tonight. It's the Bengals starting defensive tackle. No. It just could be the Bengals starting defensive tackle the way that they're playing. Stu, how you doing, mate?
I'm feeling a bit beat up after that game yesterday. You know, put in a shift there.
Come on, Stu, you need to be honest. Have you received a phone call? Have you been fielding phone calls from Cincinnati to step in at, like, I don't know, safety maybe?
I'm kind of hoping more for a chance to step in as GM, to be honest. But yeah, you know what? Like, if they want to put me in next to Von Bell, like we can be the Bell brothers back there on
the Bell brothers on defense.
Definitely. Give me a call. Like I'm ready to go. Like
so some WWE level action tag team. Yes, we are going to be going through everything Thanksgiving week. And let's start off. Let's get going. So we are going to start off on Thursday Night Football. Now, at the crew, we have traditions. We like to start on Thursdays because, well, it just makes sense to start at the beginning. And it was a traditional match because, as is tradition, on Thanksgiving, we had the Bears playing the Lions. Now, it wasn't a traditional match in the scoreline because, well, this was a game of two halves. The Lions came out super strong. It looked like it was going to be, geez, it looked bad, actually, to be fair, in the first half. But Caleb came out strong in the second half. Fair play to him. I have been a very vocal critic of Caleb. I don't see it as much as the denizens of Chicago see it. But he came out strong in the second half. He really brought the Bears back into it. But then mistakes were made. And we'll get to that when we get to the end. So, Stu, what do you know? Let's start with Caleb. We'll start with Caleb and we'll end with Caleb. And we'll talk Lions in the middle. Caleb's second half. What were your big thoughts?
You know, I will say straight off the bat, because you and I, back in the summer, I was also very much in the questioning camp of Caleb Williams. I will say that. And as the season has went on, I have to admit that I have kind of walked back a lot of what I thought and what I said. I've been fairly impressed with him. And I know he had that blip over the last kind of the last couple of games have been good, but there was that blip in the middle of the season where all the questions seemed to come back out again. Second half, Caleb Williams, I thought he was doing everything he needed to do. He was like moving the ball pretty well. He was finding his receivers. His reads were looking good, and those are all the things that people were questioning about him at the start. So he was working his way through the playbook, doing what he had to do, march them up the field, getting points, scoring. I think they put up 13 points in the fourth quarter. So I know you could say maybe it's garbage time and all that, but it wasn't.
I would contest that straight away. See if you've been hosed like 40-20, I'll totally take that was a garbage time 13 points. No. Even the game ends by less than a field goal, that is not garbage time. You're coming back to try and win that game. And as we know, it came very, very close.
Yeah, they looked good. And then, it's that thing of like their defense really picked up like after the first half as well for the Bears. And the thing is, like, I know the Lions have that high-powered offense and they can really go up against anybody with that. But the Bears' defense is outstanding. I know we've been saying it all year and they still are. So that's always going to give you a bit of a chance. So if I'm a Bears fan, my big takeaway again from this one is just that there is something to believe in there and they do have something that they can move on and grow. Sure, maybe you're not going to make the playoffs this year. Especially after
they are not.
No, they're not. But it's like you still have to look at it and go, you know what? There's reason to be hopeful, more hopeful than you have been for the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Right. Now, Stuart,
Now, when
you've
not get to
you've been far too generous because I know many a Chicago Bears fan that was convinced that Justin Fields was going to be the man to lead them to the promised land. I know many a Chicago Bears fan, even who thought Mitch Trubisky was going to be the man to lead them to the promised land.
Hope springs eternal, but however, I will say that Caleb Williams has looked better than Fields did for longer stretches of time, is the way I would put it. And I think there is something they can grow with here if they can get the right coach in, which leads us to the end of the game, Brian. I'll let you just...
Yeah, it is going to all be coaching. And it's where I worry. It's where I do worry because I'm not convinced that Chicago are going to make good decisions. There's a lot of chats. I'm loving the chat that Shanahan to the Wales. That's just... I enjoy a fantasy novel as much as anybody else. But I'm not even sure Tolkien would have committed to Shannon going to the Bears. To Shanahan, sorry. But yeah, it's what it is. The Lions, for me to maybe pivot onto them for a half a minute, I thought it was a fairly professional display. I don't think that's one that the Lions are going to look back on and go, the highlight of the season. Well, do you know, I say that. They've been losing Thanksgiving games for, 5,000 years?
Yeah.
So winning a Thanksgiving games, it's a monkey off the back. So that's certainly something. And it just, we found nothing out about Detroit on Thanksgiving. There was no information came out of that game that we didn't already know. They are one of the best offense in the league. They have got an excellent defense as well.
The defense, we do need to mention the defense is starting to get a little bit depleted.
Well, it's getting dinged up. You're right. And we were mentioning this before we came on. But they have brought Jamal in. I don't know. I think they will keep making moves. Will they make enough? Are they going to be able to make enough moves to keep that unit healthy? That's kind of what this is going to be telling.
You know what they say though, Brian? The best ability is durability. So
it's true.
If they get back before the playoffs, then that'll help them out.
The next, but the big one, to be fair, and we won't go too deep into this because we don't want to steal the preview crew's thunder. But the next fortnight for the Lions is going to be telling. They welcome. They're at home at least, but they welcome Green Bay and then they welcome the Bills.
Yeah.
Which, if the defense can stand up, Green Bay certainly. If they stand up to the Bills, you really need to be kind of saying, "Well, come on now." And then it gets a little bit softer again. And then to close out the season, they go away to the Bears again. They go away to a Niners team that we'll talk about later. And then the end of the year, they're welcoming the Vikings, and that game will entirely depend on the playoff picture. It could easily just be backups. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Now, we can't talk about this game without talking about the end of this game. So do you want to take me through it? Do you want to make it make sense to me? Caleb, the coaching team, decision-making, a lack of decision-making.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these situations that they kind of so basically the Bears end up in a situation where they're marching down the field, they're getting into field goal range, and then through a combination of whether it was play calling or, maybe Caleb did read something wrong, you end up with, I think on the second down, ball snapped, and they're going for, I think it was an RPO. I'm trying to remember all the way back to Thursday here. They were going to go for the RPO, the line gets blown up, all of a sudden there's defending rushers in the backfield. Caleb Williams ends up getting sacked, so there's a loss of 19 yards. They're pushed all the way back. Yep. They're still on the edge of field goal range here, though. So you think, okay, there's 32 seconds on the clock. They've got a timeout left. So you think, okay, well, here we go. Run back up, line of scrimmage, get things going. And then all hell breaks loose. You start seeing Caleb giving the signal with the helmet. He's basically saying, blow the play up. We can't run that one that you just called. And then on the sideline, head coach is there and
does nothing.
Freezes. He does nothing. So by the time that comes back, they then go, okay, we're snapping the ball with 6 seconds left. Or whatever, because, sorry, to go back with the timeline, when you see Caleb Williams is going like this, like kind of saying maybe change up the play and all that and everything, there was still 21 seconds or 19 seconds left. When that was going on, if I'm head coach, I would have been throwing the flag there and saying, you know what, I know we're leaving time on the clock here, But at the very least, maybe what we can do is just try and kick the field goal here, although it's a long one, and I get the argument for not going for the long one. What they really should have done was rushed up to the line of scrimmage with 32 seconds left, or whenever it was, snapped the ball and just ran it. And then that way, you maybe get an extra 3 yards, you maybe get an extra 5 yards, you maybe don't get any extra yards, and you're still kicking from the same point on the 4th down. But you just let the clock run, call the timeout, kick the ball, and if you tie it up, great. If you don't, you don't. But instead, they ended up with this, okay, now I guess we're going for a Hail Mary attempt, and we're just hoping for the best. And sure enough, obviously, it didn't work out, and ended up with the Bears losing the game, and the head coach has lost his job.
It's worth the context. Context is everything with these. But the story for this, for me, you need to remember, this drive started on the Bears 1. It started on the 1. They were backed right up.
That's it. Yeah.
At the start of this, they drove all the way downfield to the 25. They then pick up what? This is I'm checking back in. They pick up a 10-yard penalty, illegal use of the hands. So penalties. Takes them back to the 35. Then they pick up a 6-yard sack, brings them back to the 41. Like really, so many. It's poor decision and lack of discipline, and then you have the coaching faux pas. And then and I'm not actually leveling this particularly heavily at Caleb. He made mistakes. He is a rookie QB. Rookie QBs make mistakes. It's a learning experience. Fine.
And as you were alluding to, like Detroit are kind of considered a Super Bowl contender at this point.
I don't think kind of considered the phrase anymore.
Well, that's it. It's like so they're
after favourites.
The fact that he was able to move the ball down the field into field goal range, like that still says a lot to me. I'm going like, well, that's kind of more a positive than anything. But Eberflus, like that inability to call the timeout, that's what screwed them.
Totally. Right, let's move this on. It was a bit insane. So then it finishes with the Lions winning out. So they get the Thanksgiving hoodoo off their back, which is good for them. Right, we're right. It was America's game. Or it would be America's game if the Cowboys and Giants were any good. So yes, we then moved on. We had Giants, Cowboys. As far as fixtures go, a classic. You look at it on paper, and then you just need to ignore the fact that both of these teams are dog meat right now. Finishes. Cowboys win it out 27-20. Do you know what? I sat and I looked over my notes at this. Yeah, Dowdle played well. I enjoyed watching Dowdle. The G-men just cannot play offense. They had one good drive, and other than that, it was poor all round. However, with that all said, it did give me shades of the Pats-Panthers game in Germany, where it was two teams that were just really bad, but watching them together made it quite an entertaining watch. I found it quite entertaining, and delightfully, it was on at a reasonable hour here in the UK, so we got to watch it without being, too sleepy at the end of the day. I enjoyed it. I thought this was a good game. It's the epitome of an exhibition game. Do you know what I mean? We had a team that was 2-10 against a team that's moved up to 5-7. They're both done for the year. The Cowboys are both the G-men are on the third quarterback. The Cowboys are on the second.
No.
Entertaining one and not much else, mate.
Yeah. No, I would say that. It was the battle of the backup QBs. Because as much as I love, Mr. DeVito, I do think Drew Lock should have been the second quarterback out for the G-men. I thought it was a terrible idea putting DeVito in last week against the Bucks. I'd been really just throwing him to the it's a sacrificial lamb thing. I will say, Rico Dowdle, fair play to him. He's definitely established himself as the number one running back there. We should point out as well, I think this is the first time in Zeke's career where he hasn't found the end zone on Thanksgiving.
Is it? I did not know that.
The stat before the game saying Ezekiel has found the end zone every Thanksgiving game he's played. So
that's mad, because that's the kind of thing that Jerry would try to influence. Jerry would be having a word that if you get the ball on their one, Zeke goes in regardless of anything else.
Well, he had one carry for 4 yards, so I think his time might be over, is what we can take away from that. Other things that impressed me, Schoonmaker, as I always want to call him.
Schoonmaker.
He's looked good the last few weeks for them.
Stepping in for Ferguson. That took me a minute. Stepped in for Ferguson. And to be fair, Schoonmaker, last year, year before last, when Schoonmaker, everybody was very, very high on him, and he had a kind of meh year.
No,
And then obviously we've seen Ferguson do Ferguson things,
yeah.
kind of beat him out. I'm saying that, I'm hoping that I've got my years right. It might have been last year, not the year before. But anyway, yeah, Schoonmaker's been looking pretty decent. CD Lamb, what has happened to CD Lamb? He plays with Cooper Rush at quarterback. That is what's happening to CD Lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first. If he is on your fantasy team, you're not competing anymore.
No.
Not with the draft capital you spent to get him.
Yeah, I definitely have him in a couple of teams, and I drafted him.
Yeah, so says I. Yeah, do you know, honestly, I don't have much to add about this one. It was pretty much an exhibition game. It was an entertaining watch on Thanksgiving. But
I will say it was nice for, I guess it was nice for the Dallas fans to get a win at home.
Yeah,
After the year.
It's the first one in someone 9 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
It's some outrageous statistic. Right, we'll keep things rolling. And you know, onto a game that, and again, this is things that the wee bits that you, dear listener, don't get when me and Stu are chatting before we come on here. On paper, there was a reason that Dolphins Packers was Thanksgiving prime time. There was a reason that it was the nighttime game in the slate, because it should have been amazing, you know. But it really, I don't want to say damp. Maybe I do want to say damp squib. It was just a bit. Ugh. You know what I mean? It was, we had 47 points scored on the day, so you would say that's not boring. That's thoroughly entertaining football. But it wasn't. Like, I don't know how to explain this to myself. In terms of the result, I'm sorry. Anybody who was shocked by this needs to give themselves a shake. The Dolphins do not play well in cold weather. They haven't for years. This is not news. We've got all sorts of, and I can't remember who it was for the Dolphins locker room, out in the media today, asking, why is the team soft? They're like, we had Mike McDaniels is out, he's shivering. It was freezing. Of course he was fucking shivering. He was stood by a heater in the changing room. Absolutely doing. The reasons why the Dolphins are so bad in cold weather are completely lost on me. I don't know if they just don't have that resilience as a team. It's not because the coach was cold.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, they play in one of the hottest stadiums in the league, kind of thing. Like, it's pretty bloody warm in there, and
engineered their stadium to punish the other teams and keep them in the cooker.
Yep, and so it's one of those things where I live in the frozen north, so I know what it's like. Like, I know how it takes you a little bit to acclimatise when winter kind of hits up here, but it's a hell of a lot colder here than what it was in Green Bay as well. But if you're seeing Green Bay fans are out there with their shirts off, enjoying the game, the entire thing, then and you're seeing the Dolphins like players not really able to kind of do as much. Although, like, I will say, like, Tua, he did go 37 of 46. He threw for 365 yards. So it's not like they did nothing. It's just their ground game was like, they put up 39 yards on the ground.
They had a ground game.
Which you'd think with Mostert and A-Chain they should, but just for some reason it just did not translate. And then you compare that to Green Bay, they put up 114 yards on the ground, with 274 through the air. So just doing what they needed to do.
Suppose you do need to throw in for the sake of before the A-Chain fans get on and give us. He did have 56 yards through the air as well, to be fair to him. So he did finish the day with 70 scrimmage yards, which isn't terrible.
Yeah, which is good. But
and the receiving touchdown, to be fair.
Yeah, for that straight ahead ground and pound though, like the Miami were like definitely lacking that, and whether some of that's obviously the Green Bay defense is holding up pretty well, and they did get after.
It's a good unit
times, but there's that side of Miami just need to get more out of the run game, which I'm surprised they haven't, considering they do have Mostert, they do have A-Chain. They do have Wilson sitting in the background there, and also his name's skipping me right now, the young guy they drafted as well this year.
It'll come back to me. But yeah, no, they have options and they didn't play out. I suppose it does need to be said, does need to be chucked into this. If you are playing against a team that puts 24 points on you in the first half to your 3, gives you a bit of a tone for how the game is going to go. Yeah, the Dolphins outscored the Packers in the second. You know, what was it? 14-6. But the race was run. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but it was too little, too late. You needed them to be utterly electric in the second half, and they just weren't. They really weren't. Was it? And I suppose this is the thing. If they were like awful, it would have at least been interesting because it would have been something to watch a team get utterly hosed. But they weren't. They weren't tremendously terrible. They just weren't very good. And yeah, the Packers. I'm not going to say, you know, the scoreline or anything flatters them. I think they just did a good job. That was a professional outing from Green Bay. They went. Jordan Love looked good. He didn't need to lean too heavily into his bag of tricks. What 21 or 28. So yeah, 28 attempts in a day. It's not going nuts at QB. Because yeah, and even
definitely I was going to say definitely reined it in as the night went on. Kind of thing. It was on they're ahead. They're going to run the ball. They're just going to run the clock, and it worked for them.
Even then, even with the running the ball, they didn't actually. I didn't realize this. Like Josh Jacobs, objectively, had a poor day. You know what I mean? He had 43 yards on 19 carries, so he's averaging out, you know, just over 2 yards a carry, which is poor. You know, that is poor. But you've then also got Chris Brooks, Jaden Reed, sorry, getting in with some action on the ground, and Emmanuel Wilson. So they just had enough in different pieces. It didn't matter that Jacobs was having a relatively poor game in the ground. They just had enough in other places to get them through it, which at the end of the day, oh yeah, it's a team game. It's not, you know, it's nice to have a superstar you can lean on, but you don't need to be doing that. On the notion of superstars, we'll move on to what surely a game electrified, illuminated by what must be the greatest tight end in all of football. It was Friday night. It was the big lights. It was Kansas City. And surely Travis Brock Bubbles is the greatest tight end in all of football. To be fair, you know what I mean? This is one, we'll talk about this. There's other bits to talk about this, and this is not the headline of this game, sadly. But Brock Bubbles, 10 receptions, 140 yards, a touchdown, a 2-yard rush, an out and out incredible performance with, you know, the man, the myth, Aidan O'Connell tucking it to him.
Aidan O'Connell, who put up 340 yards and threw for 2 touchdowns as well.
Yeah, he did, but he's still Aidan O'Connell. He's still Aidan
O'Connell. Like, hats off to him. He did it against the Chiefs, so I mean, we need to give that guy props, kind of thing. So
yeah, to be fair, he was objectively. I never actually looked at this until right now. Which of these two quarterback stat lines would you want in your team? 23 of 35, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 sacks for 22 yards lost, and he did lose a fumble. Or 26 for 46, a mere 306 yards, 1 touchdown, more yardage loss in sacks, and he did also fumble, but he recovered it. One of those is the greatest quarterback that's ever graced the game, and the other is Aidan O'Connell. And Aidan O'Connell was better in the night, statistically.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say though, like, you know, it's one of those things where like, you could put it down on one hand to say, you know what, it's the Chiefs doing Chiefs things and finding ways to win games, and just, you know, the record rolls on. I know they lost the other week; they're 11-1 now. But the big thing for me, and you know, I'm Mr. Kicker. The big thing for this game was Daniel Carlson, and I realised some of them were, you know, was fairly long he was kind of going for, but made 1 of 4 field goals. They lost by 2 points in the end. If he even goes 2 for 4, game's won. The Raiders have took it.
And this is it. And so to come on to the actual talking point of this show, the Chiefs are, and do you know what, Kansas City fans, you're getting absolutely no apologies for me. You are the luckiest 11-1 team going. And yeah, this is where I can see Twitter doing, or X, sorry, doing its thing. That's like, give me your tears. And hey, you get to enjoy being 11-1. You go for it. And yeah, I get all of it. It's the old football, the old soccer ball adage. You know what I mean? It's, winning championships is about winning games when you don't play well. And yeah, fine. That works in a league format. Doesn't work in a playoff format because you ain't going to do it consistently in the postseason. So I looked this up earlier. According to PFF, the Chiefs are the luckiest team in the league right now. Their 11-1 record is 3.2 wins above what they're projected. And yeah, okay, it's a stat and we get it. But still, point is we all see it, the little metrics you get up in the game, percentage chance to win. The Chiefs have won 2 of them when they were below 45%. So they've got away with it. And then another 2 when they were only at 51%. So they were just on to win it. They have so often gotten away with it, and they've just pulled the rabbit out of the hat at the very last second, or they've had things like your other team, missing loads of field goals. It's just, even then, Carlson missed. I'm now actually just pulling up his missed field goals. So he missed 1 for 56, which, yeah, 56 is a long field goal. Fair play. Then 55, again, it's big. This is what I'm trying. I was sure there was a short one. No, there really wasn't, was there? Then the other one he missed was 58. So to be fair, actually, I'm thinking of different field goals.
Yeah.
It's hard done by. But then again, do you know what? Well, I suppose here's me justifying it myself then. This year has been the year of just kick field goals for crazy distances and watch them go through. Christ, the Pats tried one for 68 yards. And it was only just shot.
But we'll get we'll get to that a little bit later.
We'll get to that in a minute. So as you say, it's fine margins in this game. But do you know what, Reggie? Here's my bold prediction, right? Here's who's going to come in. It's going to build up all this. Chiefs are 1 and done. One and done in the playoffs. 1 and done. They'll get in. They're 11-1. They're already in clinched. They've clinched through. They might get the number 1 seed. That's genuinely part of the potential reality. We look at, they've got what? Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, and Broncos. They are looking at locking up, for me, at least 3 wins there. So they could easily be the number 1 seed. I still see them as 1 and done. I just don't see it. Not against a playoff caliber team.
I don't know, Brian. There's just something about, I look at their team and I go, you know what? The defense is still excellent. And if you have a good defense, you know what they say, it's defenses win championships and all that. And if you have a good defense, like the Chiefs do, you're always going to be in games. And all it takes is for Mahomes to be Mahomes, and then they have a chance. I think he's one of these guys.
He hasn't been all year.
It doesn't matter. I still think, you know what? If you look at the league, let's look around the quarterbacks. If you're in the playoffs, and you're in the 4th quarter and you've got 2 minutes left and you're looking at your team, you're going, okay, who do I want as my quarterback to be the guy on the field?
Baker Mayfield.
I mean, we'll also get to Baker Mayfield later on today. And
this is not the week for these claims. This is not the week.
But anywho, point is, I think that Mahomes has to be right at the top of your list, or at least in the top 3. Because if you look at the other guys, like Lamar,
yes,
great quarterback. You know how I feel about Lamar. You know how much I love him. I just don't know if I trust him yet in the playoffs, just because I haven't seen him do it. Joe Burrow, I'm a Bengals homer. We have seen him do it in the playoffs, so I would trust him. Josh Allen, again, it's I don't know, the Bills sometimes screw it up, but this year's Josh Allen looks pretty good. So I don't know. And then apart from that, I know we said the Detroit Lions have an amazing offense, but Jared Goff,
nah.
I don't think I trust. I think I trust Mahomes way more than him. I trust Lamar more than Allen. And I don't.
I will say I would be putting. I agree with your point.
My question.
No, I agree with your point, but I'd be having Mahomes 4 in that list. He's 4th in that list for me
this year,
based on this year, right? And that's what that I need to put that up there. I'm basing it on the season we have watched so far. Number 1 quarterback. I am playoff game, 4th quarter, 2-minute drill, right? I need to lead the team upfield to score. I am having Josh Allen. He is number 1 based on this year. Then I am having Joe Burrow. based on this year. Because if Joe Burrow's within this point, at that point in a playoff game, somehow he's actually moved to another team with the defense.
That's true.
The trade went through. Then, so yeah, I'd be having Allen, I'd be having Burrow, then I'd be having Lamar, then I'd be having Mahomes based in this year. And I do get what you're saying. The rest, it's then a bit of a dip after that. To even looking into the NFC, looking at Hurts, looking at all the rest of it. It's just such a drop off for me in terms of talent, but he's not been Patrick Mahomes this year. But then again, as you say, and you are right, and I do need to agree, still winning games. At the end of the day, there is one statistic in this game that matters, and it's the win-loss column. And that one looks
11-1.
That one looks like 11-1, and you really can only ask for it to be one game better than that.
I can't believe I was the one defending Mahomes, by the way. But
Joe Burrow has removed Stu from the Christmas card list.
Anyway, enough of the
right. Moving in, that was us done with Friday night. And no, it's not. No, it's not.
We're not done.
No, Kansas City. Don't you think you're getting away with this? On the notion of things that Kansas City get away with, it's always nice when the refs change calls after they've made them to allow you to review a play or to allow them to give you a fumble that you shouldn't have gotten to end a game.
Now, this is just luck. Again, Brian, this is just the luck. It's not that there's any conspiracy, for the record here. They were just in this moment.
So, right. For the sake of anybody, somehow, who has not seen this, 15 seconds left in the fourth. Raiders spike it in the 32-yard line. We are ready to actually put this one through. They are going to pick up a win. It would have been a field goal to win the game, and it is from the 32. So it's not a given.
So, yeah.
As we've talked about, Carlson wasn't doing great with the longer ones, but it's 32. He's on the 32, so it's a 42-yard hit.
Yeah.
He's looking good. But we then have a terrible snap. O'Connell takes the blame on himself. I'm not sure. I think it's all his fault, but he's shouldering the blame for it. And it gets then flagged as a false start. If it's a false start, as he's mucked the fumble up, the ball goes away and it gets fumbled and KC getting top of it. But it was a false start. So a false start gets rid of the fumble. The fumble doesn't exist anymore. Then the refs have a chat. And they get together and have a wee conflab and decide to change their mind, turn the penalty into an illegal shift, which then means the fumble counts. KC get the ball, game is over, Kansas City go 11-1. I'm not for the conspiracy chat. I promise I'm not, but it's starting to get convenient.
I mean, I guess from the Raiders' point, though, obviously it would be nice to beat the Chiefs, especially in Kansas City, but
I know what you're going to say.
Really, are they that upset? Because, are they not meant to be trying to go for number one overall so they can draft a people?
It does help them in the draft.
So, maybe the Raiders were like, you know what? We know we could have beat them.
driving the bus around Arrowhead because their draft positions got better. Number one overall. Yeah. Oh, it was an odd decision. Yeah. And it's one where I am certain this is where we bring in Gene Senator, comes in from New York and corrects us all and tells us that that's exactly how it should have been called. But the narrative is a hell of a thing because that is the narrative that KC have the refs. That's the story. And things like that, and you're like, well, they maybe look like they do. Right, let's keep rolling. We've got 3 games I want to cover the rest of the first half. And you mentioned defense winning championships and going to a game that was all about a very stout defensive performance and some questionable quarterback play. We had the Chargers playing the Falcons in Atlanta. It was a 17-13 victory for the Chargers. Yeah. And the first note I do have is that the Chargers defense is absolutely playing incredibly well. They are the number 2 overall defense in football right now. Eagles sitting at the top of that particular pile. And yeah, they played exceptionally well. Well, yeah, because as I say, the Chargers won and Justin Herbert put up a whopping 147 yards passing. And it's not even like we could say they just ground and pound them to death because the Chargers only put 56 yards up on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But Kirk Cousins hucked it for 4 interceptions. And this, regular listeners will know, Brian does not count like Hail Marys as interceptions. They don't count. It's really unfortunate that gets tacked onto a quarterback. These were not Hail Marys as interceptions. Some of these were egregious.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brian, it was like something that, I was kind of, when I was watching it, at the time I was sitting going, like, does Kirk Cousins have the Chargers DST in his fantasy team this week? That was happening.
You talk me through your thoughts now, because I'm going to go and find what the Chargers DST scored in fantasy this week. Just we'll find out if that won Kirky's matchup.
Some of the pick, I think my favourite, maybe not favourite is the wrong word, because I do have Kirk Cousins in a couple of teams as well. So it was baffling, to watch what he was doing. But that one where he, I forget what the score was at the time, but he was in the red zone and it was on 3rd down, and he ends up just lofting it. It was literally just like, I'm just going to loft this as slow as possible up into the end zone. I know that there's 3 Chargers, like 2 cornerbacks and a safety right there. Where one of our guys is in triple coverage, so I'm just going to loft it there and see what happens, instead of either taking the sack or just throwing it away, and then they could have kicked the field goal on 4th down, because they were literally only like 10 yards out at that point as well. It's like, you've got Younghoe Koo, just take the points at that point. I know I'm again like 4th down, but in this case, it's like, no, just take the points. But
I mean, put some mustard on it. Give it an actual hook so that your guy stands a chance. But even if he maybe doesn't get it, it's not just such an easy. Like, we would have stood a decent chance of bringing that interception in.
It was like trying to throw up, it was like somebody throwing a bit of paper into a garbage bin. That's what it looked like. We just
and for context, everybody, based on Irn-Cru league scoring, the Chargers defense put up 20 points this week, which is a hell of a thing for a defense to put up.
That's running back scores right there.
Running back scoring, that's what that is. That's an extra wide receiver in your lineup. Do you know, it did have the air of kind of, and it's much maligned, but primetime Cup. Where we see him where Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. He is not having a great year. You know what I mean? As I try and grab Kirk's stats for the year, he is really not doing incredible stuff. He's sitting so far 3,000 yards. So
I mean,
but it's not terrible. He's not a bad quarterback.
I will say in Kirk's defense, like, it's one of those things where he's moved to a new team, with new weapons, new playbook, all that, and he's also just came off that brutal ACL injury as well. It's like those are things that, definitely what we've seen with him is his movement. He never was the most mobile quarterback, but his movement this year, definitely he doesn't look as good in the pocket as he has in the past, but he's still been getting it. It's one of those things. They're 6-6, so he's still been getting some stuff done. And I still think the Falcons are a better team overall than what they were with what they had at quarterback before him. Drake London's a player. Bijan looks good this year. Like, he's been great as well. So it's their defense is obviously, I know they've been giving up a lot of points against, but they have had a kind of tough schedule kind of thing. But I think their defense is pretty good. Kyle Pitts, don't know what's going on with him at all. That's another game with 0 targets, 0 yards, 0 points. And I think he's not been there. But we probably should switch over to the Chargers as well here, but because it's not like this game was a case of Kirk was bad and they lost because of that. Justin Herbert didn't do very much either. Like 16.
No, but this is where it comes down. And I've said this.
We're at
I feel like I've said this a lot the last couple of reviews that we've done. It was just a professional performance for the Chargers. Lad McConkey had a day. You know what I mean? Lad McConkey had a great day. That aside, nobody particularly shone. It was just a very professional outing. They just went out. They played They played as well as they had to play. They didn't need to blow the Falcons out. The Falcons blew themselves out. They blew up their own chances, and that was it. But even then, we say that it was only a 4-point difference. Right. I'm going to move on because you really want to talk about the next game.
Okay, I'll just give me one more point.
1 point.
20 points.
Make it quick.
The Chargers D. The Chargers D had 10 pass disruptions, like 10 pass breakups as well. So like whether they were getting to Kirk and getting the interceptions, even when they weren't intercepting it, they were getting hands on the ball as well.
They're the second best D in the league. Second best D in the league, and that's only because the Eagles D is very, very good this year. Right, moving on. This is going to be, this was going to be our second last one of the first half, but it's actually going to be our last one of the first half. So we are going to look at what was an absolute barn buster, and you projected it to be a barn buster, no less. I wasn't as confident about this. I thought it was going to be a bit lower scoring than this, but it was a classic. It came straight out of the AFC North. It was the Steelers taking the Bengals down 44-38. We say it so much. We say it so much. If only the Bengals don't even need good defense. The Bengals need in defense what the Browns need in offense. They just need competent.
Oh no,
they need fine, and they would be winning games. The Bengals are sitting 4-8 with one of the best offenses in the league, and it's not a debate. It's not a conversation. It just is one of the best in the league. But they keep hemorrhaging points. The Steelers, to be fair to the Steelers, as much as it pains me, Russ had himself a good day. You know what I mean? I need to tip a hat. I didn't think the Russ signing was a particularly good football move. I was delighted as a Browns fan. I thought it was going to be an absolutely terrible move. But he's been playing well. 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, to be fair. He missed 9 passes in the night, 9 incompletions.
Brian, the pick, that was back in the good old days, right at the start of the game when he threw that pick. It was a pick 6, and then I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe we do have a chance here. I'm
maybe the defense has turned up.
Hitting the chains for once.
Right. Let's go through this one, Stu. We'll try to be brief, because at the end of the, am I basically right? I suppose there's the question. The Steelers are not going deep in the playoffs. They're just not. The games like tonight only happen when the Steelers are playing terrible defensive teams. Against a team with a decent defense, the Steelers don't put up enough points for me to be a serious postseason contender. Their defense is excellent, and it will keep them in games. I acknowledge that completely. The Bengals, Stu, exactly how much would you pay for the Steelers' defense on the Bengals?
If Cap was no object, I would literally just
all of it.
Give us your defense, like all of it.
All.
Just transplant it. If you put the Steelers' defense on the Bengals, we would be.
That's a Super Bowl.
We'd be 12-0, kind of thing, as you should be. The same as if you took the Steelers' defense, put them on the Ravens would be 12-0 as well, kind of thing, because the defense is that good. I don't know. I guess. I'm thinking, I've had a day to think about this post-game, and I'm now going to take the kind of glass half full approach of going, you know what? At least it's now basically officially over. We're out of it. We can't even pretend in our, have that little bit of hope in our heart that maybe we can run the table. Because even if we run the table from here on out, we finish 9-8. We'll not make the playoffs 9-8. We can't pass the Broncos. We can't pass the Chargers just because going by the way the head-to-heads go and the championship goes. We're not going to, if somehow the Ravens lose out or only win one more game, then they still finish ahead of us if they finish on 9 wins because, they beat us twice. So we're done. To me, we know what the Bengals' problems are. We knew it heading into the season. I thought it was going to be bad. I didn't realise it would be this bad. I will say that. I knew defence was going to be an issue. We need to do something with that, and the front office, I think, has to take all of the blame for this because I don't even really blame the coaches. You can't coach up what we have. I don't think anybody could go in there and make the Bengals defence into anything better than what it is because it's a mess. It's an absolute car wreck. For the Steelers, though, I look at them and go, fair play to Russell. He put up a load of points. Najee had a decent day, 16 carries, 75 yards. It's only 4.7 yards a carry, but he still did pretty well. Touchdown. On the Bengals side, I don't know if you saw the Joe Burrow interview after the game or not. But
I've not. I've seen the headlines about the Joe Burrow interview. And
I watched it, the whole thing, and like live as it was happening, and it was interesting because it does show you, like, the guy clearly is the team captain and he is a leader and all that, because he was basically saying, "This is on me, the loss." And then he essentially was just saying, like, "Look, yeah, I know some things don't go well on the other side, but I'm not throwing anyone under the bus." I'm paraphrasing, but what he was essentially saying was, "I'm not throwing any of the guys under the bus." He's like, "I love playing for this team. I love playing for the city. I love playing for the ownership. I love playing for the guys in the room." Kind of thing. He's like, sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself to be Superman, but I do think I can do it. Which I guess is, I was reading it between the lines going, he's throwing nobody under the bus, but he's also saying, as much as I put pressure on myself to be Superman, I can't do it every single time. So it was a little bit of a cry for help. And he did say, he's like, but these next few games heading for the last 5 for the rest of the year, he's like, they're basically going to show you what you need to know about people's character and who should still be in the room. And then he made a point of the only player he named, in terms of having like good character that he says you can rely on him every single game.
Yeah.
Chase Brown, only guy.
Mr. Canada.
Because he's just like, he's growing in every game, and he's like, his protection's got better. It's like he's doing what he needs to do. He's a guy that I can't question his work ethic and his effort. So I was like, oh yeah, well, that's cool. I like Chase Brown. So guess he's back next year, so that's a good thing. But so far, Joe Burrow and Chase Brown.
Joe Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great looking for the Bengals. It really isn't. It's the holes on defense are so big. That's the thing. It's not like you need a pass rusher. You need a defense. Jermaine Pratt's been good.
Jermaine Pratt has
been playing well.
And for an older dude or whatever, or older guy, same thing. The 13 tackles and 5 solo, like 1 tackle for loss. Like, he had a good day again. I want to circle back to something here from way earlier. We're going back to
let's wrap this one up then. We'll circle back. Detroit Lions. So from their defense at the start of the year, they only have 3 guys that have played every single game this season. That's how banged up they've been. One of whom used to be a Cincinnati Bengal, and we let him go in the summer because I don't know if we want to pay him again, because he's had a couple of, he missed a few games last year. He missed a few games 3 years before that. DJ Reader, we let him go. DJ Reader goes a terrible. He is a talent.
The guy's an absolute man mountain, huge run stuffer kind of thing as well. He'll break through the line and he'll hold 3 guys and he'll just flatten them. And he does it every single game for the Detroit Lions, and he used to do it for us. He's the guy, to me, I looked at it and I was always like, he's the person we need to somehow replace, and we didn't manage to do it. And if you don't have a D-line, then all your corners are under pressure more, your linebackers are under pressure more. It's just everything suffers. So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, but DJ Reader's a hell of a size and would be a giant plug that would have fixed a lot of our problems. And I think he was maybe...
He's left a giant hole behind him. Right.
Yeah.
Well, with a wee look at what could have been, that is going to draw the first half of our Week 13 review crew to a close. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And remember, join us in the second half. If you are listening live, it is only a short pause away. If you are listening to us on your podcast feed, the second half will be up very soon. So make sure you get tuned into it when we can talk all things that remain from Thanksgiving weekend. And we can just enjoy it like turkey leftovers. I had to get a turkey gag in somewhere on the Thanksgiving show. Now, remember, you can keep in touch with the crew. You can get us on X at Irn-Cru. You can find us on Insta, grid_iron_crew. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are in Spotify. We are wherever you get your podcasts. Help to grow the community. Like, subscribe, get in touch. Tell us what you are thinking about the game as we really get into the business end of the season. And with that, thank you very much, and catch up with us in the next one. Welcome to the Gridiron Crew podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the second half of the review crew, and I am your host, Brian Come At Me Donlan. Well, like we say, it is the second half of Week 13, so let's draw this to a close just like the Thanksgiving holidays get drawn to a close, and we now get to listen to Mariah Carey on repeat for 4 weeks. It's time to get stuck in. Now, remember, everybody, like, subscribe, follow the crew. You can find us on X, you can find us on Insta, you can find us on Twitch, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the crew talking all things NFL every single week. Well, every single week except when my schedule explodes like last week and I had to take a week off. So, Stu, let's get going again, mate. Now, we are going to circle to a game that was entertaining for all of the wrong reasons. A game that was a good watch for bad reasons. We had the Texans at the Jaguars. Texans walking away 23-20 victors in that one. And we'll talk about the football itself in a minute. I don't think it would be right if we didn't open this game without talking about Texans defender Al Shakir, who, to be very, very blunt, should just be binned, in my opinion. He will be facing hefty fines at an absolute minimum. I won't be surprised when we get the news saying that he's facing a couple of games. I would have thought suspension for a terrible hit on Trevor Lawrence. I think I said Joe Burrow there. On Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had given himself up. This isn't one of these ones. We've heard it before. Oh, it looks like he's putting, a cut in or a stutter step and he's going to try and keep going. No.
Sliding.
Yeah. He was sliding. And listen, I have sympathy for defenders. I think the window to pull out of a tackle is tight and it's superhuman what some of these guys do. Al Shakir went for the head. He led with his elbow and forearm straight into Trevor Lawrence's face. It was one of the nastier hits that we have seen in recent years. We then make it worse because it explodes into fighting everywhere. And Al Shakir then is marching his way on and off the field, up and down the sideline, trying to pick fights with everybody. It was a terrible thing to watch, wasn't it, mate?
Oh no, it was absolutely terrible. It's like one of those things. And then, I don't know if you saw today, he's obviously released the message saying, "This isn't who I am. I'm so sorry. I wanted to make sure Trevor was okay." I'd spoke to him before the game, saying how great it was to see him back out there because that's something too. Trevor Lawrence is just back from injury, and then immediately is now possibly. We'll see how he is, but might possibly be out for the rest of the year. But with Al Shakir, it's like that's now he's got a few of those.
Twice in as many weeks.
So to me, I kind of look at it and go, okay, well, you start developing a reputation. He's maybe not quite perfect level, but we're getting up there in terms of if you keep targeting people, you're going to start getting a bad reputation with other professionals in the league. People aren't really going to want to play with you anymore either. So I know that I wouldn't really be that comfortable with him being on the other side of the field because I get that it's a hard sport. You play hard and all that. But you shouldn't have to worry that somebody's going to try and chicken wing you, when you're committing to a slide. I've given myself up here, just tap me. Kind of thing, on the way, that's what you're meant to do. Kind of thing.
And that's all he had to do because that play was dead. That play was done. Lawrence was already down. I think if it hadn't, it was just about to. I think he'd actually touched as well. I think Lawrence was actually grounded before he gets hit. And if he wasn't, it was very, very fine. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But, right. Okay. So, yeah, we had to talk about it because, Jesus, it was such a huge talking point in the game. And he did get ejected. As I say, we'll wait and see. The legal dish out their own punishment. I know that some of the crew in the background, they fully expect the Texans to dish out team punishment to Al Shakir as well. So, I don't think any quarterback needs to worry about him for a couple of weeks at the very, very least. But, yeah, it's not a good look for a very, very good reason. On to the game itself. So, yes, we had the 8-5 Texans. Now, before I make a point, I'm going to say first, the Texans are 8-5. They are not quite an absolute lock for the playoffs, but it looks very, very likely that we'll be watching Texans football in the postseason this year. And the Jags are a 2-10 team. And the Jags took that with Mac Jones to 3-point game.
Fair play to Mac Jones.
I stood in my rec. I stood out in the preseason and I said I thought the Texans were going to be found out a bit this year. It looked like I was very, very wrong front end of the season. And as I've said, they are 8-5. It's a good record. This is not the Texans that we were promised.
No, I mean, I will admit that because I was one of the guys that was maybe not arguing with you, but I thought, you know what, CJ Stroud does look good. I thought that they'd built in, the right areas that they needed to. I mean, Joe Mixon, yet again, had another
incredible.
20 carries, 101 yards, so another 100-yard game.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's just lining up. Nico Collins is fully back in the swing of it. 8 receptions, 119 yards, so averaging 14.9 yards a catch. I think so. It's they're looking good, and the defense is obviously fairly solid, even with Shahir not in it.
Mm-hmm.
Forward, but yeah, there's just been something. They've been less dynamic than what they were last year, and is that maybe just because they do have more of a run game and they can lean on that a bit more? That does play into it because last year, remember, there was no point in them handing it off, so Stroud was just kind of left going.
Last year they were genuinely considering handing it off to me. That is fair. It is, but I don't know. There is, and this is something I hate. I hate it when analysts say this. I am a statistics guy. I am a stats man. Love them all. However, it's the eye test.
Yeah.
Something just looks off. They don't look convincing. They don't look great to watch. And I mean, not great to watch. That's not fair. You know what I mean? You like watching different styles of game. But I watch Texans football and I'm not convinced they're going to win games that they should be winning every single week with the roster that they've got, with the players that they have at their disposal. It's just not convincing. You know what I mean? A team that's the Texans, who we think the Texans are, they don't pick up losses to the Titans. They don't pick up losses to the Jets. Yeah, okay, they lost to the Lions. The Lions are very, very good. They lost to the Vikings when the Vikings were very good.
That Lions game was something else, though.
It was something else.
That only spin on finding ways to lose.
And this is what I mean, but it is like that. Finding ways to fuck up.
They did find a way to win this one, though.
Yes, they did.
Switched the Jaguars a bit, though. I look at them and I go, well, surely they have to be thinking about a coaching change because, you look at their rosters. I know Trevor Lawrence has been banged up and injured a bit this year, and Mac Jones is Mac Jones. Although yesterday, 235 yards off, 20 completions off 32 attempts, 105.6 rating. The guy threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The guy did all right, kind of thing. All things considered, against a team that a lot of people were saying are Super Bowl contenders before the season started. Whether they are now or not, it's another matter. But I look at the Jacksonville team and I go, on paper, they should be a lot better than what they've been. They definitely shouldn't be a 2-10 team.
Totally agree.
They should have at least 5 or 6 wins at this point, kind of thing. But instead, they're plumbing the depth. So surely they have to be looking again and thinking, do we make the coaching change? Is it just another few players that we? What's the way forward for the Jaguars?
I don't. Pedersen's been in for a couple of years now. He's had time. I don't like the coaching carousel. I don't like binning people fast.
Same.
You need to let them establish themselves, all the rest of it. Like the old football analogy, you need to have 3 transfer windows. He's had it. He has a talented roster. They're not performing, and I agree with you. I think they do need to look at a coaching change. I won't be shocked when it gets made. It's just not all sunny in Jacksonville. Right, moving this on then. We'll keep rolling. So, Brian's been a terrible host and he's lost his place. Vikings, 23 cards, 22. A 1-point game. And I do love a 1-point game.
Fine margin.
The tension's great in a 1-point game. For me, big note I wrote this, the Cards just cannot do it in the red zone. Cardinals' red zone offense was just woeful. It was something like they made it into the red zone, and I can't remember the stat, and I don't have it written down. It was something like 6 times, and they walked away with one touchdown.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. That's asking for a beating. It's I then find it, because they 5 of 6 field goals converted for the remainder. You just can't be doing that. Vikings, for what it's worth, were fine. Sam Darnold actually didn't look like a pumpkin. Go Sam. I've been pretty harsh on Sam the last couple of weeks on the crew. He's not been looking great, but he looked okay. Didn't look electric, but he looked fine. Looked pretty serviceable.
He did considering this was maybe a year where the Vikings are rebuilding.
Yeah.
The fact they're 10-2, it's like, you know what? Like, you can't really complain. Like, I know he's not the best quarterback in the league, but I'd be happy. As a Vikings fan, I'm happy enough right now. Like, just let
is that the talking point of this? Is that the talking point? We've made a lot about how the Chiefs are the luckiest 11-1 team that everyone's talking about. Are the Vikings the most underrated 10-2 team that no one's talking about?
Probably, because if you think about it, who else is up there? It's like, we've talked about like the Steelers are doing great. The Steelers are what, 9-3?
Yeah, Steelers are worse off than the Vikings in terms of record. The Lions, everyone loves the Lions.
Yeah.
Ravens, everyone loves the Ravens. Everyone loves the Eagles. I need to check the Eagles record. These are teams that get love. Everybody talks about how good they are in at least one aspect of the game. The Vikings don't really.
Yeah, and they're 10-2.
Everyone loves JJ, but that's kind of it. Other than that, they don't really get made a big deal of. And they are just quietly chuntering along, gathering up wins. They're more or less a lot for the postseason now.
Yeah, they have a really good defense. We have to say that.
Flores is excellent.
And Flores is like sculpted that defense and made them an absolute unit. Considering the guys they gave up, like Daniel Collins and that, he was regarded as like a centerpiece of their defense the last few years. He was gone, and everyone thought, rebuilding. Vikings defense is going to take a step back. Instead, they look way better than they have in years. So
I think they're a team that we should put a little bit more love in the Vikings. I'm going to say the Vikings should be getting a little bit more love. If Darnold can play, fine. The Vikings are going to be there, and they're going to be a team that you will at least think about in the postseason. They're not a team you'll look at and go, it's fine, we'll just close through them.
I have a question for you, Brian.
On you go, quick point.
Arizona. Where does Trey McBride land in your rankings of best tight ends in the league?
This year, I would have him actually as I do love Brock Bibbles. This year, given the overall strength of the team, I would have McBride as the number 1 tight end in the league this year. Bibbles just comes in at 2. Bibbles comes in at 2. Then there's a whole mess of arguing for 3. But yeah, Trey McBride's having a year. Quickly grab him. He sat on 781 yards already. An absolute touchdown death. That is what Trey McBride is.
That's the thing for Arizona. Just going back to what we said right at the start there, like no red zone presence.
Yeah, Jesus, you look at that and you go 781 yards, average 10.7 yards a reception. His longest 37-yard reception, 0 touchdowns. Wild statistically.
Nuts, isn't it?
So unlikely for that to happen.
It's like Josh James reception TD for years as well. They finally managed it. So,
right.
Anyway, hope for me.
Yeah, we all have hope for McBride. He's still a top tight end. Right, moving on to one scored game to another one-scored game. We had the Colts at the Pats. Colts walking away with this one, 25-24 victors, keeping a very reasonable look at the playoffs alive. They're sat at 6-7. Pats are done for the year. We knew the Pats were done for the year. Pats have been unashamedly in a rebuild. Drake May is actually looking like a reasonable find. I actually quite like watching Drake May play football. He makes rookie mistakes, but he is a rookie, so that's fine.
There's no O-line, so I give him a pass for some of the mistakes just for that reason. But
I totally agree with that.
I think Pats fans can be pretty impressed with, or pretty happy with what they found in him. Ramondre done a good game. Just apart from that, rebuilding. So
you know exactly. The Pats know exactly what they are at the minute, and I would like to think Patriots fans know exactly what they are at the minute. You are 2, maybe in a bad day, 3 years away from relevancy. 2 years of adding pieces to O-line fundamentally. And maybe a bit of an upgrade at receiver, but then again, we know how good the Pats are at drafting receivers.
They can't be upset about it because they did have many years of relevance.
Yeah, they know exactly. That's kind of what I mean. They know exactly where they are right now. On the other side of the ball, though, the Colts, Anthony Richardson, the complete
Mr. Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde, the Enigma. What the hell? He plays series after series after series where he can't hit an open man within 5 yards, and then just hucks a 75-yard bomb for a touchdown. Leads what was that? The final that drive was like 70 yards, 70 plus yards that he led. Perfect football, and it was perfect. And then you see him in the next game. They can't do anything. The next series, they can't do anything. It makes no sense, and all he does is hurt my brain when I try and figure out what the hell he is.
You know what? It's been incredible to watch because it's one of these things where obviously he gets benched. You know, they start him as the starter for the year. He does kind of okay, but there's mistakes, and then finally they go, and then he has a horrible game, and they go, you know what? We have to bench him, put Flacco in. So they have a few games of Flacco that doesn't really work out great. Then they bring Anthony Richardson in, and I still think he basically gives you like half of a great game, and then the other half will be some of the worst quarterback. But it's like, have you ever played quarterback before? Like this, it's almost what it
makes sense.
If you can put it all together, it's one of those things where I love him because I'm like, the tools are there. Just put them together. Like something on the instruction manual. And then once he's got that, like I think, you know, he could be absolutely elite. But until then, great fun to watch.
Until then, he is. Do you know that like that random kind of like the 5 bolts you find at the bottom of the IKEA box after you've put the shelving unit together?
Yeah.
That is Anthony Richardson. No idea what those bolts are for. You're reasonably confident that that's a shakier bookshelf than it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to the next one. Do you know, I have got literally about 6 words worth of notes for this game. Seahawks Jets 26-21 win for the Seahawks.
What are your 6 words? Is it Aaron Rodgers should maybe
retire? Aaron Rodgers should retire right now. Okay. Right. Do you know? I'm actually uncharacteristically, I'm going to say something nice about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did actually come out after this game and take a little bit of blame. And he did say, you know, there's 11 men in the field and sometimes it's my fault. So fair cop to you. You have actually taken a bit of blame. You did manage to fire most of the coaching staff, demand an entire change to the roster, and turn the entire franchise that was already on fire, somehow more on fire. But well done. You did eventually accept some blame. This is one team that is atrocious in the New York Jets. I'm sorry, Jets fans, but you are grim. You are terrible to watch. There's not even things that you watch and you go, oh, I can get excited. I'm not even excited to watch Breece Hall play anymore. And I loved watching Breece Hall play.
And it's a shame. You look at them and you go, like, they've got Garrett Wilson, they've got Devontae Adams. Those are 2 of the best, or should be 2 of the better receivers in the league. And especially if they're paired together, you think, you know what, they should be excellent. And like 5 receptions, 66 yards, a touchdown for Devontae Adams. Like, fair enough, decent day. But you did have 12 targets.
Yeah, it's like every player there's a but. Every player there's a but.
Yeah.
All of them. On the Seahawks side, I'm very sorry to the Seattle fans as well, because this was a game where I don't actually need to talk about you very much. It was just, as I keep saying, it was just a professional performance. JSN looked very good, to be fair. I was very impressed with JSN. You know what I mean? 4 receptions for 74 yards. Sounds like he's maybe not seen a lot, but his catches were good. He was bringing that ball in. Thoroughly enjoyed watching JSN. Gino was fine. Gino was efficient. He only had to put up 206 yards in the day. I mean, you look at this and you say, oh, it was only a 5-point win. The Jets went out 14-0 up really fast, but then they just get clawed back. And there was a play or a drive at the end where you thought, ooh, could the Jets come back into it? But no was the answer. They just couldn't. They're a team that just, they're a team, we've talked about this before, and we're not going to spend too long on it because it's a chat for the off season. they are a team that is structurally bad. It's the thing, like, as AFC North fans, it's what gets us frustrated with the Steelers. The Steelers don't need to have an incredible roster. They are just structurally really well run. So they're always going to be there or thereabouts. The Jets, plus other teams, the Browns, that we could mention, it's not the roster. It's not the coaches. It's not the owner. It's not it's everything. There is something bad in the organization. And New York fans, I don't know how you fix it.
Yeah, I think it's just need to burn it down. One thing I will say about the Seahawks, so they are now top of their division.
Mm-hmm.
They were before the game, but they're now continue to be top of the division as well. So they're actually looking pretty decent. And like the fact that what I didn't actually realise as well, so they won that game on the road. They're 4-1 on the road. Mm-hmm. For a team that is, obviously not going to be one of the top seeds, they'll get a home game if they win the division. But if they somehow manage to squeeze their way through that, then they're on the road. Do they become a kind of almost dangerous team, or is that hoping for too much from the Seahawks?
I think it's hoping for too much.
I think it's
they're a good team. They're, again, do I expect to be watching the Seahawks in the postseason? Yeah, no. I expect to be watching them for 1 week in the postseason. But yeah. Right, moving us on. Holy blowout, Batman. I know the Commanders are good, and I know that the Titans are bad. But there's good and bad. There's 42-19 good and bad.
Especially when it's 21-0 after the first quarter.
That was wild. Three series, 3 touchdowns. Mad. It was. We were all watching it kind of together. The group chat's doing its thing, and you're just like, "What the hell is happening?" Mm-hmm. It's the bit where you didn't even get first quarter Will Levis. Sorry, Keith. Keith loves first quarter Will Levis. Yeah. But it was just, and again, I feel like I say this a lot. And do you know what? It's funny because you said this before we came on here, Stu. The bookies were loving the Titans. The bookies were getting sneaky love for the Titans, like as if they knew something we didn't.
For some reason, they were all over this saying, like, "Oh, you know what? This looks right. This is perfect conditions here. Titans are going to pull something off. The Commanders have been found out." And I thought, I kept wanting to go, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm like, I don't think, as much as the Titans have looked better in the last few weeks, I'm like, I don't think they're good enough to actually really damage the Commanders. Kind of thing. I didn't think the Titans' defense was going to be enough to hold off the Commanders. But it was even more of a blowout than even I thought it was going to be. So there we go. The Titans, they know what they are. Like, they're another team that's also, they changed the coach in the summer. There's been that big change after kind of years of stability, and you have their mans hanging around Cleveland, waiting in the wing for whatever reason.
I don't know what his job is. I have no idea what Vrabel does other than drink free coffee.
Vrabel's some sort of defensive consultant.
Apparently for tight ends. Apparently and exclusively to do stuff with tight ends. But
and Njoku is obviously doing pretty well, so he's doing something then. But anyway, point is that Tennessee's had the big changeover. They've went with Callahan, who I loved in his time at the Bengals. I think he is a good play caller. I hope they give him enough time to redevelop that team. It's just because there was so many holes all over that place.
I think, I was about to say I think they will, but at the end of the day, they tore the team out from under Vrabel and then binned him as if it was his fault. So I don't know what the ownership is, maybe who I'd want to be working with. But Commanders fans enjoy it. Like, talk about turnarounds. The Commanders last year were a tire fire. And this year, wow. You know what I mean? We've all spoke to death about Jaden Daniels. He has to be. I'd really like to think that he's in the MVP conversation seriously. I don't think he would win it, but I think he should be part of the conversation. I don't think he will be, unfortunately. I think they'll placate it and he's leading, for me anyway, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Bo Nix is making it interesting, but we'll mention
Bo Nix is making it interesting. Well, we'll see tomorrow how interesting he makes it. But
shouting about Joe Alt as well, but I'm like, mate, they're not giving it to.
Not giving it a lineman.
Offensive lineman is. I know he's good.
We can argue that another day. They should. It's why I don't think this. I don't think offensive, MVP and offensive Rookie of the Year and the rest of it. I just don't think quarterbacks should be allowed to win those. They should make a different award for quarterbacks because it's boring now. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, Commies fans, well done. You know, I mean, he's done. It was a great game. Scary Terry's looking great again. Ryan Robinson Jr. Had to step up. Jesus, actually, I'm seeing that Ryan Robinson Jr. did have to step up. Austin Eckler was out. He's on IR, so
Ryan
he's
Robinson
done
Jr.
for the important part of the year. And Chris Rodriguez Jr. nearly earning himself a 100-yard game. So
Yeah.
all is looking good in the garden for Washington. I need to say they're a team I wouldn't want to play them in the postseason. As much as I'm saying, you know, teams like Seattle, I think are a stick to be one and done. Oh, could the Commanders go all the way? No, I don't think so.
It's the defense.
Could they give a good team a game in the postseason? Yes, 100%.
If they can turn it into a track meet, definitely. I do think they scream one and done to me just because the defense isn't quite there. But what a foundation to be. If you make the right moves on defense in the summer and the off season, like look out next year. Like the Eagles should maybe start worrying, or at least be looking, instead of being comfortable in their we win the division every year.
Yeah, I don't. Next year, I'll be interested to see the odds on that for next year, because I don't think it's going to be long for the Commanders to be in with a shout at that division.
Yeah. Well,
we'll move us on. We move into the late window. We've got 4 games to cover in the second half, so we'll move through these a bit of a pace.
Yep.
We had Bucks Panthers. So we were talking about Baker earlier. This was not a vintage Baker day. It was 26-23 overtime. Now, it was a game that it wasn't a vintage performance from Tampa Bay. It wasn't one of their better ones, but they did do enough. They had an absolutely crucial drive at the end for the field goal, really clutching up to get them into range and then convert it, take it to overtime and wrap the game up. I'll be honest, though, I don't really want to talk about Tampa Bay. I think we know what Tampa Bay are. They're a decent team. Thanks to the South being a bit of a mess, they are going to be in contention for that division all year. I think that we're going to see a team barely above 500 is going to win that division.
Tradition.
Yeah, to be fair.
I remember the year Brady went to the last Brady year when he went to the playoffs, I think they were 8 and 9.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it happens. But the Panthers, the much maligned Carolina Panthers, is there light at the end of the tunnel in Charlotte? Bryce Young actually looks like he might be slowly figuring out what it is to play quarterback in this league. I'm actually a little bit encouraged.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like he looks way more like it's the confidence. Like he just seems a bit more dynamic. He seems to be like putting balls where they need to be more often. Like him and Adam Thielen. Like they look great. Adam Thielen was an absolute stud in this game again. Like they, turning back the years. I know we were saying that about him last year as well, but he was great. Tommy Tremble had a few good catches.
Tremble.
Yeah, Tommy Tremble's up there. Leggett, less catches, only 4 receptions, 53 yards, but he had a few key ones. Kind of thing. He's in there. And then now you've got, they're starting to sprinkle in Mr. Brooks alongside Chuba Hubbard at running back. Yeah. It's like they have stuff that, that there's things that are coming and they're looking better. Like they took this game to over. I know that obviously Tampa fought back to take it to overtime. But Carolina should, it's looked a lot better than it has the last few years, we'll put it that way. Things seem to be turning around, and Bryce Young especially, for me, it just shows you, because the same thing we said about Anthony Richardson earlier, being benched in a season, it doesn't mean, it doesn't need to mean that that's you done from the league, like a lot of people seem to think. Bryce Young was benched earlier this season. There was a lot of people going, that's him, he's washed, waste of a pick, guy's terrible, he'll never be anything. And then, what, he sat for a few games, Dalton ends up in the car crash or whatever, and his hand gets injured, he's out, Bryce Young comes back in, and he's looked way better. It's like maybe things have just slowed down for him a little bit. What does they say? Kind of thing, and he's now...
It is a thing they always do say that with rookies, is that when you come into the league, the game's fast, and you need to get to a point where it slows down so you can actually perform. Right, we're going to move on to our third last game of the crew this week. So, I'm going to be honest, this one, there's not many games in the league that I find difficult to watch. This one I found a bit difficult to watch. And I'm sorry to both the Rams fans and the Saints fans out there. 21-14 to the Rams. They did enough to walk away with a win at the end. Takes them to 6-6. The Saints fall further away to 4-8. Saints are done for the year. We've known that for a while. Rams are going to be thereabouts. I'm not convinced by the Rams this year personally. They've got a lot of really good pieces. I just don't think they put it together enough. And obviously, we know they've had lots of injuries throughout the year.
Yeah,
We
it's
know
one
that.
of those things where it goes back to the best ability is durability.
Aye, and they've lost the pieces for so much there. I just don't think that they look like a team that feels rusty to me, and it's week 13.
Yeah. However, they are, after winning this game 21-14, they're 6-6. So they're only one win behind Seattle.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the West is strong enough that you're not going to see somebody run away with it. It's going to be up for the whole time. But again, we've said it a few times tonight. If you are in the playoffs and you get drawn against the Rams, are you scared?
No.
Most playoff caliber teams would look at the Rams, they would look at Tampa and go, "Yeah, I'll take that as my draw in the first round." The news out of this one, I suppose, and it's sad news because this is genuinely one of my favourite players in the game. Taysom Hill, knee injury. That's him probably. I don't actually know if it's been confirmed yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's official yet. It sounds. Last I checked, it was likely done for the year.
On track to miss the remainder of the season. He's sustained significant left knee injury. It's a shame. Taysom Hill, he's such a unique player, and that is the word for Taysom Hill. He is unique. Nobody can do what Taysom Hill does. It's a big shame. So yeah, that's a big loss to the Saints. But then again, Taysom Hill being out is not going to make any substantive difference to the Saints season. You know what I mean? The Saints are done. They've got probably the last year of Alvin Kamara being able to put up these kind of numbers. He's turning 30. Derek Carr is not an elite quarterback at all. I feel bad for although he's on thing. I forget he's injured at the minute. Olave and all the rest. It's a hell of a weapon. He's obviously out for the next while. But it wasn't a stormer. It wasn't a vintage game by any metric. Rams will be happy to walk away with a win. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, keeps the Rams in it for now, kind of thing. That's the most we could probably say about this game.
Yeah. Right, second last one. Right, in a game that I kind of took the mickey in the first half, calling the Cowboys G-Men America's game. This was America's game. Eagles, Ravens, Lamar, as a rule, owns the NFC. Oh, yeah. He plays NFC teams and wins. Not when Saquon Barkley is on the other side of that field. Eagles took the Ravens 24-19. Two parts to this. Two main talking points I want to hit, Stu. One, Saquon is an absolute demon. But that's not the story for the Eagles. Eagles' defense is the number one defense in this league for a bloody good reason. Mm-hmm. And two, the King is dead, and the King is really dead. Justin Tucker, 2 for 4. And I've forgotten the exact depth of the stat. He has cost the Ravens. The Ravens are currently sat in 8-5. If they had Justin Tucker from last year or 2 years ago, they are 9-4, 10-3, you know what I mean? So on. They are winning because he has cost them games. 2 misses last night.
And he missed
those.
And he missed an XP as well.
And he missed an extra point. So 2 misses, even just a field goal. So two missed field goals, 6 on the board, you win the game. Just, you know what I mean? It's small margins in this game. So yeah, you know what I mean? Are we looking at in the Eagles a 10-2 contender? And I mean Super Bowl contender.
I honestly think we are. Like, I mean, I know, you know, we talked about, like, in the earlier episode, we talked about quarterbacks you would want leading you down the field with 2 minutes to go. If you're a score behind, you need to tie it up in the playoffs. And Jalen Hurts wasn't one of the guys we mentioned, but the guy does enough. And he's also in a team that has numerous weapons, including, obviously, Mr. Saquon Barkley, but A.J. Brown, Goddard, like, he had a few good catches in that game. Great touchdown as well. But that defense, I think it makes them a force in any game that they play in the playoffs this year. And the fact that they held the Baltimore Ravens, who many considered to be the best offense in the league, to 19 points, I think that's a huge statement of intent. Like, it really shows you how good the Eagles are. And I think anybody facing them on the NFC side has to be kind of wary and has to come with a good plan if they're going to beat them.
Yeah, totally agree. As I say, and I'm not going to label the points with the Ravens.
What's
Sorry,
that? I was just saying, even the Detroit Lions with our awesome offense, I think they need a good plan.
They'll struggle. That's going to be your NFC Championship game for me. You know what I mean? It's going to be Lions Eagles. And do you know, I'm going to put my colours to the mast now. I'm going to say whoever wins that game is your Super Bowl champion. I think whoever wins it in the NFC takes the whole thing this year. And I think it's going to be Lions. Providing it's Lions Eagles, if we see some really funky, like, NFC playoffs and, like, Gino goes on a tear and makes it all the way. I'm not backing Gino. But, yeah, both of those teams, for different reasons, I think are excellent.
Maybe the underrated 10-2 Vikings and Sam Darnold just coming out of nowhere.
Maybe again,
it's like
Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Only for them to lose the Super Bowl to a muff punt. Right.
That would be the Viking way.
That would be the Viking way. Right, okay. Moving on. It is our last game of the show. It was a snow game. As is tradition in Buffalo. It was the Bills blowing out, not necessarily, 35-10's a blowout. Blowing out the Niners, the much maligned Niners. Biggest news, to be very honest, isn't actually the Niners losing this game. It is, as has just been confirmed at time of recording, CMC is going to IR, and he is expected to miss at least 6 weeks. So he is done, and with him goes the Niners season. I'm sorry, San Francisco fans, it's not going to happen. And the Bills just keep it chugging away. They're 6-0 at home, 10-2 in the year. Josh Allen can throw passes, catch laterals, and run them in for touchdowns, because he is Mr. Everything.
Yeah,
and congratulations, does he get engaged over the weekend as well?
So not only did he get engaged, he also became the first quarterback in NFL history to do, to throw, receive, and rush in a touchdown.
I wonder which of those achievements he ranks higher.
Probably the engagement.
Haley Steinfeld or throwing, catching, rushing.
I'm going to go with the engagement.
I don't know that I'm that confident. Right, so do you know what? With this, as I say, unfortunately, I'm ringing the bell on the Niners. I'm ringing the bell on the Niners here. I think they're bust.
I think they are too. As much as, like, you know me, I'm quite a fan of the Niners. Like, I've enjoyed Shanahan. I love what he does. If they were to bin him, I think that would be the biggest mistake anyone would make this year.
Surely they would.
The amount of injuries they've had, but what this is, or what it looks like to me, is you have a team that has went to multiple NFC Championship games and multiple Super Bowls in the last few years, and that's, you've played a lot of heavy football, and this year has maybe just been a year too far for some of those guys on the team, and here we are, and it's just people are starting to break down, and that's what happens as you get older. At
the risk of us developing a catchphrase in this show, the best ability is durability. The Niners have been busted all year. Yeah, this isn't news. The Niners having injuries is not a new headline. We've been saying it all year, and it's just too much. It's too many. Yeah, can't lose that many pieces and still stay relevant. You just can't.
But nothing away from the Bills, because this is again hilarious. No. This was meant to be a year. I know we've said this multiple times in the podcast. This was meant to be a year where the Bills were doing a mini rebuild and they were retooling. After, having a
retooling. Yeah, I like that one.
After like 2 or 3 years of having a go, but not quite making it, they would retool and then come back stronger next season. And here they are with their patched together offense, and they are, they beat the Chiefs. The only team to do it so far. They're 10-2, 6-0 at home. So they're a team that you look at going, if they're going into the playoffs and they've got a home playoff game, and it snows, well, look out.
And that is it though. It is that they will just Oh, I don't even know. I'm all about the Bills. The window is open. The window's wide open. The window is a veranda door. It's open that far. I'm on Team Buffalo this year. I think they're going to be your AFC team in the Super Bowl as well. I'll go that far. I
Actually,
think
going all the way through. The Bills are making it, and they're playing one of the Lions.
Yep.
And
I would love a Bills Lions Super Bowl. I think Bills Lions would be a hell of a game. I think Bills Eagles. The Eagles win, and it's a really
turgid,
grudgy game to watch.
I know, Brian. I have to say, especially when it's not your team in it, there's nothing better than a turgid Super Bowl.
That's like, I think if we get Lions Bills, I think we could see like a 44-43 finish, and it'd be amazing. Because the Eagles Bills is going to be something like it's going to be like watching Stirling Albion, a 1-0 finish somehow. 1-0 overtime. Aye. Right. That's going to draw us to an end for us this week, folks. Yeah, that is the review crew for week 13. We are wrapped up. We are there. It has been a great week of football. We've had some great games. They have overshone some of the less than amazing ones. Sorry, Rams fans. But thank you very much for listening. And remember, join the preview crew later on in the week. They will be recording Thursday to get you ready for week 14 of NFL action. And don't forget, we have got the Browns in action, my beloved Browns, in action tonight against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And it's okay. I only need Courtland Sutton and Nick Chubb to combine for more than 40 points in one of my fantasy leagues, which is theoretically possible. Stu, thank you very much for joining me tonight, mate.
No, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm glad I got to, in part one, I got to vent a little bit about the Bengals. But good luck to your Browns tonight. I think you're going to be in tough against that Broncos defense, though. So,
yeah. Yeah.
We were racing you for bottom of the division and the better draft pick.
Hey, draft capital to be won.
Capital of all.
Right. Okay. And with that, thank you, everybody, for listening. Remember, you can keep in touch with the crew. You can find us on X at Irn-Cru. You can find us on Instagram. We are grid_iron_crew. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, get in touch with the crew. Let us know your thoughts on how the season's playing out for your team. And until next time, I have been Brian, the Conscience of Cleveland Dorland, and we will see you in week 14.